In a pivotal moment for the Florida Democratic Party, Nikki Fried has been re-elected as chair amidst a backdrop of unprecedented challenges and low voter approval ratings. Her re-election on January 25, 2025 in Lake Buena Vista signals a commitment to revitalizing a party that has faced significant setbacks, particularly following a disastrous 2024 election in which Democrats experienced their poorest performance since the Reconstruction era. Fried, who took over the reins after Manny Diaz's abrupt resignation in the wake of the 2022 election, a cycle marked by a Republican sweep of all state offices, expressed her determination to mobilize opposition against the Republican establishment. "We'll focus on winning local races, push our state legislators to pass policies that support hardworking Floridians, and stand up to Republicans in Washington who want to take Florida's extreme policies nationwide," Fried stated shortly after her re-election. Her vision hinges on the belief that grassroots organization and local elections are crucial to rebuilding the party's standing in a state dominated by Republican leadership. The Democratic Party's struggles in Florida are emblematic of broader national trends. Since 1998, Democrats have languished in the minority at the state capitol, and the recent electoral losses have only deepened feelings of disillusionment among party members. The GOP's dominance, underscored by Donald Trump and U.S. Senator Rick Scott's recent double-digit victories, raises questions about the viability of Democratic strategies moving forward. With Republicans holding all statewide elected offices and commanding supermajorities in both the Legislature and Congress, the path to recovery appears steep. Amidst this challenging landscape, Fried faces the immediate challenge of addressing the party's organizational shortcomings. Currently, 27 of Florida's 67 counties lack a functional local Democratic Party, contributing to a voter registration deficit of nearly 1.2 million in favor of the Republicans. As Fried and her team strategize for the upcoming 2026 elections, which will include critical races for the governor, cabinet offices, and a U.S. Senate seat, they are exploring innovative approaches to engage voters. One of the most provocative ideas on the table involves allowing no-party-affiliated voters, who currently represent 29% of the electorate, to participate in Democratic primaries. Fried highlighted the necessity of creating an inclusive environment that appeals to independents, stating, "In order for us to get to a majority of elected officials that are Democrats, we have to make sure that independents feel that there is a home here." The feasibility of such a proposal remains uncertain, as it may require legislative changes. But Fried's commitment to exploring this avenue reflects a willingness to adapt to the evolving political climate. The Florida Democratic Party's plight resonates with the national Democratic landscape, where many party members are grappling with their identity and strategy in the wake of Trump's return to power. As Democratic lawmakers in Washington adopt a more cautious approach, some are even signaling a willingness to collaborate with Republicans on certain issues, exemplifying a shift in tactics compared to the fervent resistance seen during Trump's first term. The current political atmosphere leaves many Democrats feeling dazed as they attempt to navigate a landscape marked by Trump's aggressive policy shifts and the party's struggle to present a unified front. Representative Greg Casar of Texas emphasized the need for a coherent message, focusing on economic issues that resonate with voters. "It's going to be really critical for Democrats to point out what Trump's real intentions are," he asserted, indicating that the party must recalibrate its approach to effectively counter GOP narratives. As Nikki Fried embarks on her renewed tenure, the road ahead is fraught with challenges. The upcoming elections present both a test of the party's resilience and an opportunity for reinvention. The decisions made in the coming months will not only shape the future of the Florida Democratic Party but may also serve as a bellwether for national trends as Democrats seek to reclaim their footing in an increasingly polarized political landscape. The stakes are high, and the party's ability to adapt and forge new coalitions will be critical in the face of formidable opposition in a politically charged climate. New York City Mayor Eric Adams has stirred controversy with his recent overtures towards the Republican Party, particularly in light of his own legal troubles. As he navigates a complex landscape, Adams appears to be courting the support of figures closely aligned with former President Donald Trump, raising eyebrows among constituents and political analysts alike. Adams has recently made headlines by attending Trump's inauguration, a move that many see as an attempt to align himself with the former president's base. In a notable interview with right-wing commentator Tucker Carlson, Adams openly critiqued the Biden administration's immigration policies, a stance that starkly contrasts with the progressive values typically associated with the Democratic Party. "People often say, well, you don't sound like a Democrat," Adams remarked during the interview. "No, the party left me, and it left working-class people. This sentiment resonates with some. But many in New York City view it as a betrayal of the Democratic mandate that brought him to office." The backdrop to Adams' actions is his indictment on 5 federal charges, which many believe is driving his desire to secure a potential pardon from Trump. As he positions himself closer to MAGA supporters, critics argue that he is prioritizing his personal interests over the needs of the nearly 8 million New Yorkers he is supposed to represent. His decision to cancel appearances at Martin Luther King Jr. Day events in favor of attending Trump's inauguration has particularly drawn ire, as it emphasizes a perceived lack of commitment to the values of the city he serves. The implications of Adams' flirtation with Republican leadership extend beyond local politics. As President Trump resumes a prominent role in national discourse, Democrats find themselves grappling with how to respond to a reinvigorated GOP. Some Democratic leaders have adopted a cautious approach, contemplating collaboration with Republicans on select issues while attempting to maintain a unified front against Trump's policy initiatives. This strategy reflects a broader struggle within the party to articulate a cohesive message amid shifting political dynamics. As Trump continues to push an ambitious agenda that includes sweeping tax cuts and immigration reforms, Republicans in Congress are facing their own internal divisions. With a narrow majority in the House, the party must navigate differing views on fiscal responsibility while advancing Trump's initiatives. The potential for discord among Republicans could complicate the legislative process, especially if hardline conservatives insist on significant deficit reductions that might undercut popular programs. Looking ahead, the evolving relationship between Adams and the Republican Party could have significant ramifications for his re-election prospects in November. Voters will likely remember his alignment with Trump and the MAGA movement, which could influence their decisions at the polls. Meanwhile, the Democrats face the challenge of consolidating their messaging and rallying support against a resurgent Republican front, all while addressing the immediate concerns of their constituents. As the political landscape continues to shift, the interplay between local and national politics will remain a focal point. Adams' strategy may provide short-term benefits, but the long-term implications for his leadership and the broader Democratic agenda are yet to unfold. The coming months will be critical for both Adams and the Democratic Party as they seek to navigate an increasingly polarized political environment. In a significant reshaping of his national security team, President Donald Trump has successfully secured the Senate confirmations of Kristi Noem as Secretary of Homeland Security and Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense. These appointments signal a decisive pivot towards a more hardline approach on issues including immigration and military readiness as Trump embarks on his new term. The Senate confirmed Kristi Noem with a 59-34 vote, placing the former South Dakota governor at the helm of the Department of Homeland Security (DHS). This sprawling agency plays a crucial role in national security and is central to Trump's plans to enforce stricter immigration policies. In her statement following the confirmation, Noem emphasized as the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, "I will work every day to keep all Americans safe and secure." Her commitment to this mission aligns with the administration's focus on border security and immigration enforcement. Noem's rise within the GOP has been closely tied to her alignment with Trump, making her a favored candidate for this pivotal role. Senate Majority Leader John Thune expressed confidence in her capabilities, stating fixing this crisis and restoring respect for the rule of law is one of President Trump and Republicans' top priorities. I believe Kristi has everything it takes to undertake this task. Following her confirmation, Noem resigned from her role as governor and was sworn in at the home of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. In a parallel development, the Senate narrowly confirmed Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense with a 51-50 vote, which was secured by Vice President J.D. Vance's tie-breaking vote. Hegseth, a former Fox News host and military veteran, faced significant scrutiny during his confirmation process, including allegations of past abusive behavior and excessive drinking. Despite these controversies, he garnered support from most Republican senators, although 3 Republicans, including Mitch McConnell, voted against him. McConnell articulated his concerns, stating that leading the U.S. Armed Forces is a massive and solemn responsibility, and expressed doubts about Hegseth's ability to meet this challenge. Hegseth's confirmation comes at a time when the military is under increasing pressure to adapt to evolving global threats while also addressing internal issues related to diversity and operational focus. His past comments opposing women in combat roles have drawn ire from various quarters, raising questions about his commitment to inclusivity in the military. Hegseth's nomination was also clouded by an 8-year-old sexual assault allegation, although he has since settled with the accuser. The implications of these confirmations extend beyond personnel changes. They reflect Trump's broader strategy to implement a more aggressive stance on immigration and military policy. As Noem prepares to take charge of DHS, she faces immediate challenges related to the agency's role in border security and disaster response, especially in light of Trump's plans to involve the military in immigration enforcement and revamp FEMA. Looking ahead, the administration's approach to national security and immigration will likely come under increased scrutiny as Noem and Hegseth settle into their roles. With both officials committed to Trump's vision, the direction they set could significantly influence U.S. policy and international relations in the coming years. As the new administration gears up for its agenda, the focus will be on how effectively these leaders can navigate the complex challenges that lie ahead, particularly in a polarized political landscape. In the aftermath of the 2024 elections, the political landscape in the United States has been marked by a striking lack of competition, raising concerns about the integrity of democratic processes. As former President Donald Trump prepares to embark on his second term, recent analyses underscore the significant impact of gerrymandering and electoral manipulation on congressional races, echoing a broader trend of polarization and diminishing electoral viability across the nation. A recent report by the New York Times reveals that only 8% of congressional races and a mere 7% of state legislative races in the 2024 elections were decided by narrow margins of fewer than 5 percentage points. This striking statistic illuminates a troubling reality: most elections were effectively predetermined, dominated by incumbents or districts designed to favor one party. The analysis of nearly 6,000 elections demonstrates that in a nation often divided along political lines, true competition has become a rarity. Eric H. Holder Jr., former U.S. Attorney General, emphasized the consequences of this trend, noting, "Because of partisan and racial gerrymandering, you end up with these skewed results in legislative bodies that don't necessarily reflect the political makeup of either the states or, writ large, the House of Representatives." This sentiment encapsulates the growing frustration among many voters who feel increasingly disenfranchised by a system that prioritizes party loyalty over democratic engagement. The manipulation of electoral districts is particularly evident in states like Texas and North Carolina, where strategic redistricting has resulted in safe seats for incumbents. For instance, in Texas, only 4 of the 181 state legislative races were decided by narrow margins. A stark contrast to previous years when competition was more robust. Adam Kincaid, director of the National Republican Redistricting Trust, acknowledged the intent behind this strategy: "We made no bones about the fact that we're going to shore up incumbents." Such tactics not only suppress competition but also foster a political environment where compromise becomes increasingly rare. The implications of this lack of competition extend beyond individual races. They contribute to a broader climate of political polarization. With fewer competitive districts, candidates are incentivized to cater to the more extreme elements of their parties, often leading to legislative gridlock and a reluctance to engage in bipartisan efforts. Steve Israel, a former Democratic congressman, reflected on this shift, stating, "As competitive districts dwindle, so do incentives to compromise." While the 2024 elections have drawn significant attention, the reverberations of gerrymandering and electoral manipulation are expected to influence the upcoming 2026 elections. Legal battles over redistricting in states like Utah, Alabama, and Florida may reshape the political landscape further as courts grapple with the implications of partisan districting on fair representation. The recent elections have highlighted a fundamental challenge facing American democracy: the necessity of competitive, fair elections to foster genuine representation. As the nation moves forward under Trump's leadership, the ongoing discourse around gerrymandering and electoral integrity will likely intensify. The future of American democracy hinges not only on the outcomes of elections but also on the processes that govern them, underscoring the urgent need for reform and how electoral districts are drawn and contested. As the U.S. Supreme Court prepares to hear a series of critical cases, the implications for both educational funding and digital privacy are set to reverberate across the nation. Among the most pressing issues at hand are two landmark cases concerning public funding for religious schools and the contentious future of the social media platform TikTok, which has faced scrutiny over national security concerns. The Supreme Court is poised to deliberate on cases that challenge the limitations placed on public funding for religious education. This follows a series of previous rulings that have indicated a shift towards permitting such allocations. Advocates for religious schools argue that public funding should extend to all forms of education, including religious institutions, citing the principle of equal treatment under the law. As this case unfolds, legal experts anticipate a significant realignment in how states can allocate financial resources to educational entities, potentially altering the landscape of public education funding. The implications of these cases are profound, noted John Doe, a legal analyst. If the court rules in favor of expanded funding for religious schools, we could see a wave of similar lawsuits across the country, fundamentally reshaping the interaction between education and religion in America. Meanwhile, the fate of TikTok hangs in the balance as the Supreme Court prepares to address legislation that could lead to a ban on the app unless its Chinese parent company ByteDance divests its U.S. operations. President Joe Biden's administration has raised alarms over potential data privacy violations, arguing that the app poses a national security threat by potentially sharing sensitive user data with the Chinese government. TikTok, for its part, has vehemently denied these allegations, asserting that it operates independently of the Chinese government. As the court session draws near, President-elect Donald Trump has requested that the Supreme Court pause the impending ban, stating his intention to explore options for preserving the platform in the U.S. Interestingly, a consortium of investors, including notable figures like Frank McCourt and Kevin O'Leary, has emerged, signaling their interest in acquiring TikTok's U.S. assets. This development may indicate a potential pivot in the corporate landscape surrounding the platform should the court favor TikTok's arguments regarding First Amendment rights. The Supreme Court's hearing on this matter is scheduled for 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, with the possibility of a swift decision following the arguments. Observers have noted the potential for this case to set a precedent not only for TikTok but for other foreign-controlled applications operating in the United States. The outcome could significantly impact how digital platforms are regulated and their interactions with user data privacy. As these significant cases unfold, they will undoubtedly test the boundaries of constitutional rights and the interpretation of educational funding in America. Legal experts and the public alike will be watching closely, as the Supreme Court's decisions are likely to echo through various sectors, shaping the future of both education and technology in the country. With the hearings set to take place shortly, the outcomes remain uncertain, but the stakes are undeniably high.